Welcome to Business Unfiltered. I'm Rick Plaskett, a certified business and leadership coach here in Ohio. And today, my guest, as you can see by his shirt, is not from Ohio. He's from that state up north. His name is Todd Sullivan, and he is the owner of ExitWise. Today, we're going to talk to Todd a little bit about his business, some of the challenges, some of his best practices, and get a real good peek into what it's really like to build and operate a business. If this is your first time on the channel, please be sure to like and subscribe. It helps us out and also gives you notifications of future conversations. Todd, hey, welcome and thank you for being here today.
Thanks, Rick. Yeah, I've been looking forward to this. I appreciate the
S-
invite.
Super, super. For the audience, give us a brief overview of your background and tell us a little bit about what ExitWise is.
All right, I will try to be brief. So I've built and sold four companies. We can go into that, but really a lifelong kind of tech entrepreneur. Prior to that, I was a professional hockey player, and that experience really dropped me into the entrepreneurial world. Lots of parallels between those two enormous efforts. Um, Today, what I do is my fifth company is called ExitWise. And originally, ExitWise really was just a mission to give back to my fellow founders, particularly when they're thinking about the later stages of their business and what they're going to do when it's time to sell that company. I really went through the ringer in my four exits of all the things that you can absolutely do wrong. And so I thought, hey, if I can give back to the world of entrepreneurship and make sure that fewer mistakes are being made at the end of the journey, we'll all be kind of better off. So what ExitWise is a marketplace that connects business owners with the world's top exited founders, people that have sold businesses in every industry to the biggest brands in the world. And we put those founders in touch with you to help you grow, package, and then eventually sell your business. So we can work with clients, who get a call from a buyer and they are ready to sell, or we can start 2 or 3 years later, before exit in some cases.
Awesome, awesome. So let's set the stage for the viewers here.
Sure.
The ownership structure of ExitWise, are you the sole owner and founder, or do you have outside investors?
Yeah, great question. We are bootstrapped, but when I was thinking about how to give back to the entrepreneurial community, I was having breakfasts and coffees with friends and ended up with a good friend from business school who built and sold a company, enterprise value well north of $1 billion. And he built that with three other people and talked about his M&A experience. And when we looked at our journeys, he was really the one to say, the biggest black box really is in M&A. To get to where he was, he had to buy multiple companies. So he saw it from both sides and ultimately fired an investment bank, a large investment bank, and did this over $1 billion transaction. And he led it. So he is my partner. We are 50-50 partners. I say that that's how we started. And then we brought on a third partner who really runs all of our financial preparation for every client. He does certified valuations and he runs that team and has just been instrumental in helping us expand the business from not just mentorship and helping you through the sale, but really putting all of the pieces together that a company really needs before they sell. So
Super.
it's three of us. We're bootstrapped. We fund the company off of cash flow.
So with the three partners, what's your current role, Todd?
That jumps around. Like many of your listeners are going to understand that we wear many hats. And, that was, call it last year. Now we're thinking about and using so many different AI tools that your role, you're even kind of figuring out how to replace yourself or a lot of your activities, which has been really eye-opening, really fun. We're now at a point where we can take somebody that is thinking about selling and prepare them to sell within hours as opposed to months. So my role really is originally on mentoring business owners through the entire M&A process, um, advising the investment bankers, the attorneys based on my unique experiences. And that tends to raise the success rate of M&A transactions and sells companies 30% or more above market. And we have lots of ways of kind of calculating that. So when that was my main role, bring the business owner in, partner with them, and help them create the exit they deserve. So there's obviously a lot to that. Now that has really transitioned because of volume. We've had to bring in other exited founders. So today I spend a lot of time working with exited founders. We just signed one up that sold for 100 million to Dropbox. Another one sold for $1 billion to KKR. And it's working with those people in order to match them with the right founders at the right time, depending on what that business owner wants to do.
Super, super. So with all of those hats, every business owner can recognize that you move back and forth between working in the business and working on the business.
Mhm.
Just off the top of your head, what's a good percentage mix of how many times you're actually in the weeds, nuts and bolts, getting the sail across the goal line versus looking to the future and setting up ExitWise for where you want to be when you grow up a year from now, 3 to 5
Yeah,
years.
if I'm honest, it's probably 50-50. Um,
Good.
I would say over the last couple of years, it was probably 80% I am in deals and experiencing the emotional ebbs and flows of every business owner that we help. And now today, because I've been able to pass that to frankly exited founders who are far more accomplished than I am and better fits for our clients. Now it's more looking holistically at the business. Instead of helping 20 founders a year, can we help 20,000?
Wow. Okay. So
Yep.
you're seriously talking scale.
Yeah, I mean, the tools are there, the network is there. We have a couple of hundred exited founders that are all looking to help. And in general, I'd like them to help one business owner every 6 months. So, and that's a very scalable thing for us.
Hmm.
Really, right today, it's just the lead generation, just like every investment bank has that issue, right? I need the leads of business owners who are thinking about selling over the next couple of years, and then build the trust with them and show them the data that really points to this being the right solution for them, either today or in the future.
Hmm. What's your, you're going to have quick sales, you're going to have ones that just hang forever. But what's your average life cycle of first contact to closing the sale?
Yeah, it's a bit of a loaded question. So let me break it down a little bit. First, where we are great is businesses that are valued between 20 million and 250 million. So we fit in that lower middle market. That's our focus. And those businesses typically, when we get to meet a founder for the first time or introduced, there's probably 30 to 60 days of that courtship, getting to know each other. What is the right path moving forward? If we've determined that, hey, yep, you can go to market today. Here's your valuation, and everybody agrees that this is the right valuation for the business, and we take you to market, it's anywhere from 6 to 9 months from that period of time. Now, certainly there are outliers. We've done one in 4 months, and we've had one we closed. Boy, it almost hit 2 years. And that wasn't because there weren't offers on the table, but it was the offer was never right for the founder. So it was, finding additional buyers, going back to the well, negotiating at every stage, waiting on delays from lenders. So there are a lot of things that can happen that create that delay. The one that we did in 4 months was really an inbound offer from a public company. And I think your listeners just need to know that the diligence required to sell a business for $70 million, it doesn't happen in 30 days. And then even agreements and attorneys going back and forth. There's a lot of kind of frustrating delays that are inevitable in those size of transactions, whether the buyer is a first time buyer or professional buyer, which is maybe something we'll get into. The other thing I would touch on, Rick, is that we've come up with a solution more recently, I would say in the last 12 months, to help business owners that are worth less than $20 million. Dollars. And frankly, that they tend to fall in that, call it 5 to 15 bucket. And so what we've had to do is bring investment banking in-house. So now we have in-house investment bankers that will help on those deals, and we can keep the cost much lower. Um, on the larger deals, paying $1 million fee on an $8 million company doesn't do anyone any favors, right? That's
Right.
reputational damage. It's terrible for the business owner. So now we have in-house investment banking to solve that, and that's relatively new. So if I gave you kind of the standard 6 month answer, it's not baked in a ton of data. I know we have 3 exits coming up in the next 60 days, and one pushed. I thought it was going to happen last month, and now it's pushed a month. I'll get a better answer for you next year.
No, I asked for the average just to understand how long you're engaged and when you're talking about a lead pipeline and then servicing the client and then finding the client. My background is civil engineering and construction, and so every time I've had a new house built and someone comes in and tells me X number of months, I know I'm going to double that. Okay, there's
Yep.
no way that I'm going to have my moving van ready to go in the next day because it's not going to happen. There's too many other parties that you really don't have direct control over, and yet they're the ones that have to do the answers. I'm curious, as you're working with all parties here, how much in that time frame that you're engaged with the seller and the buyers when it ultimately comes by, how much do you dig into any personality profiles so that you can understand where they're coming from and how they think?
Are you talking about the seller specifically or all parties?
A lot of times for me, it's the buyer. If I know what the buyer, how they think,
Hmm.
what's their motivators, how do they communicate, and what's their value of money, maybe.
Yep.
But if I know those, then I can address the package to those instead of just thinking like I think, and nobody else in the world thinks like I think.
Yep. I really appreciate these questions because I think there's an opportunity to educate, right? And on first your timing question, it's so important to understand if your business is worth $500,000, that process is totally different than a 50 million or a $500 million business, right? In this particular question, when a business owner comes to us, we're trying to do really 3 things. One is give you the best M&A team in the world for your business and you specifically. So that means there has to be a personality fit, right? That just because if you have a fintech and you want to sell to Intuit, I have 3 exited founders that have sold to Intuit. One sold for 30 million, one sold for 400 million, and one sold for 1.2 billion. Those numbers are less relevant than is there a personality fit, right? So we are trying to make that match. If your company is worth, call it $70 million, we are going to give you an investment banking choice. We have multiple bankers. I think there are 11 in our platform that sell fintech, and fintech gets broken down into banking tech, payroll tech, even insurance tech falls in there. So we're looking for an industry expertise and buyer knowledge as well as a personal fit with the seller. And ultimately the seller is making these decisions. So while we're building that M&A team, we learn a lot about the personality of the seller. I would throw one thing out there is as a seller, if you have an attorney, your personal attorney, and you go to work, you want to talk with an investment bank, and you want them to sign a non-disclosure, or at any point when an NDA is passed around, if you are giving that to your personal attorney and that is taking weeks to turn around, to us, that is a signal that you do not have anything in order and that your team is already so disastrous that they will ruin your deal that we will pass immediately. So it's not just a personality, but it's how your understanding of this process. So so that is kind of prepping the business owner with the right team, and personality comes into it. On the buyer side, we tend to shy away And when I say we, our recommendation is to our investment bankers that are making these decisions of which buyers are the right buyers for this transaction. And that could be anywhere from the searcher all the way up to, the largest private equity firm or public company. Because we have matched you so specifically with an investment banker in your space, they already know the buyer pool. Literally, I was on a conversation last week where the banker and the buyer are on the phone. They know each other from previous transactions. And I'm on the first call, and the banker says, "Hey, Eric, great to see you again. Glad the transaction went so well last month. You need to make me happy in the next 20 minutes, or you know who I'm going to call." Right? That it is a personal dialogue. They know exactly how that buyer thinks. They know the levers to pull in all the elements of negotiation in your deal. Because it isn't just here's $70 million. There's earnout, there's rolled equity, there are opportunities that that banker can seize on for our clients if they know their buyer well. I would say that it's not a popular thing to say in today's day and age. We really shy away from searchers. They have ruined multiple deals. The search community is so saturated now, and the investors behind those searchers are really the ones pulling the strings. So you're never actually talking to the buyer, and the person you're talking to even thinks that they're the buyer. And in the end, when the rug is pulled out from them, and they don't have any money, you're sitting on an LOI that you just signed and you're held for the next 90 days, not being able to negotiate with the market. So we very much, from a high level, will watch these engagements, oversee and give advice. And that's one of our pieces of advice, is to stay away from the groups that are fundless sponsors.
Just what you shared with me, Todd, I'm envisioning you and ExitWise and all of your team are the wise journey guide. I'm as you were talking, I'm sorry, but I had this vision of you are Obi-Wan teaching me the ways of the Force. The buyer and the seller still have to do in order for the transaction to be created, but you're the one that is guiding from your expertise, from your past experiences, and from your entire book of resources, guiding them along the path, saying, don't step there, that's going to hurt, and knowing which ones are more advanced in their process and serious about wanting to exit. Is that a fair summary of what you've shared with me?
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that because, the real differentiation, and I see this pop up everywhere, is that we are founders helping founders. But we are also not geared towards a specific transaction where we get paid. That is what investment bankers are. They are very transactional people, and they know how to get deals done, and they have multiple deals that they are working on, and they are trying to get paid. Right? So you have to understand that. And the attorney side, it is even further different, right? They are going to bill by the hour, and you need to understand that. Our role really is to help you create the exit that you deserve. And whether that's 2 months out or 2 weeks out, right? We need to help you traverse all of the parties that are involved that are not necessarily aligned with you. And I think that's what we do, is we really create alignment. When I give you Paul Fiore, who I'll give it same example, I probably should use another. I'll give it a different one. I give you David Nemitz, who sold for $200 million to Bleacher Report, and you have a media company, and he just helped Sam Parr sell The Hustle, and I can put David on your team. David is not counting pennies. He is there to help you get over the goal line in the best possible way. And he is keeping even your investment bankers in line and your attorneys in line. Having that resource on your M&A team, I've never seen it before, but I can tell you that statistically, it is so important. You're 3 times more likely to sell. You're 3 times more likely to sell to the right buyer, and you're going to increase the value at least 30%. We've increased the value 300% on a deal because of an exited founder. So it is a better way to M&A, right? I know it rhymes, but that is just the way to say it.
And sharing that part and sharing your Your meticulous focus on the detail. I am very curious. I'm going to change gears on you just a little bit.
Sure.
In the concept of goal setting, okay, I work with a number of people that are afraid to set goals that they know they can't achieve. And most of the time I tell them if you know how to get there, it's not a goal. It's a to-do, put it on your to-do list. But if a goal for your business, a goal for the next generation or for exiting is something that there's a piece there that's a gap. You don't
Yep.
know, you don't understand, you need to grow in order to achieve a goal. That's a completely different mindset. I'm curious about how your response would be to what's your vision of setting goals for your company?
That's interesting because I haven't thought about it that way, but I like it because I would say that my superpower is 0 to 1. And what you're describing is kind of resetting. All right, we got a new goal, don't know how to get there. It's 0 to 1 time. And that's where I thrive. Now, my partner, Brian, built a company and hired 1,000 people and bought multiple companies. And sure, at the beginning, he was 0 to 1 and they had to figure it out and landed a couple big customers in the middle of a financial crisis, all the worst possible things, his clients going bankrupt. And so they're just saving themselves over and over. But then they got to a scale where it is very much rinse and repeat. You've got a playbook, and that's a different skill set. So, yes, when I set goals, I will absolutely look around the room and people will be like, how are we going to do that? And I will say, we're going to figure it out. We're going to take a lot of swings. We're going to learn what works. We're going to learn what doesn't work. And we're going to just keep going until we achieve this. And if at some point you pivot, your goal could be A, you pivot to B, you pivot to C. That's the startup world, and F ends up working. So it's about, failing fast, but setting super high expectations. For us, it's very easy to look up on the wall and say, make all your decisions in the best interest of the business owner, right? So that kind of grounds us. And now have global impact. Those are the two things that really drive us. So we can't make decisions that are just going to help 10 people next year. We have to help 10,000. And whether we get there or not is yet to be seen. But I think we have a model to be able to do that.
Yeah,
I hope that
that's
answered
it.
your question.
Oh, it absolutely it did. It's interesting with all of the world events today. I am constantly working with business owners that are struggling themselves and fighting with, are they concerned about something or is this in their area of control? I can be concerned that it's going to rain or have severe weather tonight, or I can simply batten down everything, tight it all up, and move the cars into the garage so that nothing damages them. That second part is the control. The
Hmm.
first part, I can worry, 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 and I'm spending all this energy and it's not doing anything. I am in a few months here, I do with my clients a halftime locker room chat. Okay, imagine a football team, halftime, the game has developed in a certain way. We go into halftime and figure out what do we have to do so that the second half, at the conclusion, there's a W next to our name on the
Hmm.
scoreboard.
Yep.
And that's what I do with my clients. And right now, a lot of them are bouncing back and forth between what they can control and what's happening in the world. And to help them, many of them just don't recognize that they are bouncing. They don't have that structure, that self-discipline. So I set the stage with them on identifying what's a strategy and helping them and say, your strategy is 3 to 5 years out. It's a simple, are we heading north? If so, then any option of going south, east, or west is not on the table. We're still going to head north. We may have to change to plan F, as you said. Then the second half is the planning. And planning is weeks to maybe 60, 90 days. And that is what's happening right now. What do I have to do to address that and keep me moving towards my goals and towards my strategies? And once I help people divide those out, it's fun to just watch the entire room and the light bulbs go on and go, ooh, okay, that post-it goes over here and this one goes over there. It's just a joy to be able to give people that structure to
Yeah.
divide out their team and then focus on where they want to go. Sometimes, a military guy, I know exactly what a strategy, a tactic, and a action is, but a whole lot of other people just kind of put that into a soup sandwich and it gets kind of messy.
Rick, I really appreciate the work that you do, right? Setting those goals. I love the sports analogy, halftime. Where are we? Where do we need to go to put the W on the board? And I think one of the learnings from me in this company is when I was playing hockey, I was a goalie. And you can almost go back and say every moment is 0 to 1, right? You're either stopping it or it's going in. And so I was always resetting. But you come to, a change in periods, you go into the locker room, and I would be able to say, and by the way, as a goalie, you feel you're constantly on defense. Whereas a company, you got to go on offense. But I'd go in between those periods and I'd say, look, somebody's got to cover St. Louis, right? Like whenever he steps on the ice, they're gonna go to him. Somebody cover him, right? He's gonna beat us. And so for me as an athlete, then translating to business, it's as much of like that awareness of what your job is and what you need to do. In goaltending, it's kind of very isolated. 0 to 1, 0 to 1, 0 to 1. Whatever just happened doesn't matter. It is the next shot. In business, what I think I'm so lucky with is I've picked the right co-founders who can really do that kind of where let's figure out what the true north is to victory and chase that. They can help go on offense and then take the whole team with them because everybody plays a part. And you can't have distractions, right? You can't have somebody going off taking stupid penalties and setting your team back. So I think of your service as that halftime, where are we? Where are we going? Put the right people on the ice to win the cup. Right. So for me, I do that by partnering with the right people because I don't have all of those skill sets of like extreme offense. I certainly have the vision of where we need to go and the confidence that we will figure it out, but it is a team effort.
Awesome. And again, that's another secret nugget that many business owners struggle to learn is between the computer and your circle of influence, there are resources out there that you can tap into. Why is it that so many people, when they become adults and they become the business owner, they have this mindset of, I must figure it out myself? And yet you have just shown the one golden nugget, and that is resources around me and accept the fact that other people, other resources can be more powerful and more knowledgeable than I am. I just need to use them to get to where we want to be, growing to servicing 1,000 customers at a time. I love it.
Yep.
Love it. Thank you
And
for sharing.
and having the wrong attitude really hurts you in M&A, right? Because I've heard you talk about, right? There is a team. You need to be able to transfer that business to a team. It has to be transferable. That is the word. And you are going to leave your business one way or the other, right? So if other people are running it, you're going to improve the value of that business. So it isn't just, an attitude. It leads to real value.
Yeah. That's probably a discussion for the follow-up interview here, but the ability of having to deal with the nuts and bolts of an M&A and the emotion of the M&A.
Oh, wow. Yep.
And sometimes those two, when you put them together, it's like a match in dynamite and nothing makes sense. And when you're sitting there trying to go, all of the numbers, all of the facts all line up, why aren't we moving in this direction? And you come to recognize it's not about numbers and facts, it's about emotion. And until you address that emotion, it's not going to move forward. I
That's what I
helped a
say constantly about the exited founder platform is that exited founders translate emotion to finance and finance to emotion because they've been through it. Your banker's going to understand finance. Your lawyer's going to understand how to protect you. But having a business angle and understanding what you're actually going through at every stage, there feel like little wins and then major stabs in the back. And this is a marathon to get the right deal done with the right partner, with the right structure to satisfy the client. The exited founder adds so much of that emotional balance that keeps you sane. And frankly, we've had bankers say multiple times that the exited founder has saved the deal. And we know why. And it's that human component and having been there before.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Hey, listen, we have certainly covered a lot of ground today in our conversation. And for those of you guys watching, I highly encourage you to save this, come back and take a look at it a number of times because Todd has absolutely given us some nuggets and some hidden nuggets there where for those of you that are potentially looking into the future of exiting your business. So please save it, like it, come back and watch it again. As we wrap this up, I want to hit a section, Todd, where this is a rapid fire section. Just
Okay.
what's top of your mind? You ready for this?
I hope so.
It's easy. It's easy.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Promise there's been no blood, no broken bones
Yep.
yet.
Okay.
Won't be the first. Right. Hey, Todd, what's your key to success?
Um, my wife would tell you that it's earning emotional currency by helping other people, right? That to me, that's what drives me. It's what I talk about. It's what I share with other people is being helpful using my experience to hopefully help other people.
Fabulous. What's a piece of advice that you would give to another business owner?
At what stage of is it somebody that wants to start a company or, they're in the end of their career? Does it matter?
Yeah,
I,
I leave it to you. I'm
I,
not
I
putting
think
any parameters on it.
I do give this advice to people that are thinking about starting a company, tend to be earlier in their. It's really two things, is putting a win on the board early makes the next business that you're going to start that much easier. And so I think thinking about entrepreneurship as a career path as opposed to I'm going to step up the plate, I'm going to step up to the plate, hit a grand slam, retire, be on the cover of some, Forbes. That is not entrepreneurship. So if you think about it as that career in preparation for that win, figure out the industry that you're really excited for and go work in that industry in the behemoth that you are going to go and disrupt. Understand where all the pain points are, find customers along the way. And when you go to launch your differentiated solution, start with some customers in hand. I know that's a lot, but I think that people are thinking about starting business. That's the advice I give.
Oh, absolutely. I've had many clients that have been startups. I've had many clients that have been expansion. And I always challenge them. You don't want to be the one at the ribbon cutting ceremony and having crickets come through the door afterwards.
Mhm.
Fill up your calendar for at least 3 weeks after your ribbon cutting ceremony. That's what you need to do before you sharpen the scissors. Super. Hey, Todd, if there was one area of your business that you could improve and Monday morning come in, it would be exactly the way you want it and firing on all cylinders, what would that area be?
I guess it would be that we have identified that ICP, right? That ideal customer over and over and over. So right now we help everyone that comes through the door. And I think the right business has a narrowly defined profile of business that we can help and that we have reduced the time and cost to help that person dramatically. So I don't know exactly what that looks like. It certainly, I have one of our investment bankers says, I have a crystal ball, but it's in the shop right now. AI is just changing the world so quickly. What took us months right now takes us hours. Um, for me, it's constantly learning and innovating. Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry, I don't have a great answer to that.
No, I think you just gave a brilliant answer. It is not a one answer, it's a journey, and recognizing that you're not looking for a Polaroid picture because life changes. As soon as you take that picture, there's something new.
Yeah.
And we're moving at a much faster pace than we've ever moved at before. So accepting that change is the norm and that you're not going to be doing the same thing 2 years from now as you're doing right now is absolutely brilliant. So listen, before we get to the last question of the day, if there's somebody watching this that wants to get in touch with you, Todd, either to position their company to be sold or because you've just given a gem of a piece of information that they want to dive in deeper, what's the best way of them getting in touch with you?
Yeah, they can email me at todd@exitwise.com. Or you can go to exitwise.com and find your favorite exited founder that really you think connects with you and schedule a call. What you first get is you talk with me and I can help you think through those options and make sure the Dave Nemitz or the Shagan Otolanas or whoever Miki Agrawal is the right person for you and take the next step, whether it's growth or packaging or full M&A.
Super, super, super. So here's the last question. What do you find most inspiring?
Wow. Um, I think it is just incredible the number of people that are willing to start companies and hearing about all the different ways that people make money and create their own success. So it's really inspiring to me to see so much hustle, so much motivation to create better lives. And before doing this job, I felt a little bit more isolated. You hear about entrepreneurs, you go to meetups and meet other people that are like you, but there are just millions of people out there that are hustling every day to build better lives for themselves through entrepreneurship. To me, that's incredibly inspirational.
Awesome, awesome. I'll have to put two asterisks next to that. Since I've been doing this series, I have talked to so many business owners that are starting businesses in areas and markets that I didn't even know existed.
Yeah,
And it's brilliant.
yeah.
It's also interesting to me to talk to business owners that are willing to try a business idea where there isn't one today.
Hmm.
That I don't think was there 10 years ago. I think everybody from 10 years ago was focused on creating Jaws number 26,
Hmm.
just redoing an old idea. And there's so many today that are trying brand new ideas. And that is refreshing to come across those.
Yeah, yeah.
Super. Super. Well, hey, listen, Todd, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your journey. And to you, the audience, thank you for watching this. I know Todd has given us an awful lot to think about today, and I really like the way he is working with other resources and other people to bring the best of the best to bear on whatever your challenges are. So, folks, make it a great day and bye for now.